Well, Congress is weighing a new federal fee that would hit certain drivers every year just for owning that car. Supporters say it's about making EV and hybrid owners pay their fair share for road repairs, but critics warn it could open the door to a much broader national car tax. Joining us now to discuss is Grover Norquist, the president of Americans for Tax Reform. It's so interesting, Grover. When I heard about this, it did feel like a gut punch. I'm thinking about how much I'm paying for gas and then a car tax on top of that. And we're talking about a federal fee here, so every state would have to play ball. What does this look like? What are the basics of this proposal when it comes to this car tax?
It's a bad idea on a number of levels. One, they say they want to have a car tax, a tax per car, not in addition to the gasoline tax, a tax per car targeting electric vehicles. Okay, all taxes start with a small group of people they hit, then they get expanded. So there's nothing that stops this from being a tax on all cars next year or 2 years from now. There's nothing that says you could divide people into how good your car was and tax you more if you have a more expensive car. These are all things that are almost certain to happen. It is questionable constitutionally for the federal government to sort of hijack the Department of Motor Vehicles and have them collect a federal tax. If a state said, oh, we need money for roads, they could stop siphoning money from the gasoline tax off into various metros and public transit. They take a lot of money, up to 20% of the money that's supposed to go to roads, and they give it to big cities to run metros and undergrounds.
Right.
If you stopped taking that money and allowed it to actually be at roads, then you wouldn't have any problem at all. And you really should, I think at the end of the day, end the national gas tax and let the states handle it. We've already built the highway system.
Well, when you talk about this right here, this car tax, you know what the deal is, what supporters of this are saying. They're arguing that EV drivers, they do not pay gas taxes and they help fund highways and road repairs, so they should contribute through this type of a registration fee. But you believe, obviously, that's the wrong approach. And like you said, it can open the door for everybody being taxed.
A state can do that. Many states have taxes on EVs. There's nothing that stops a state from deciding to do that. Why would you have the federal government do it? If the federal government takes the money in a tax, when they spend it, it's subject to the Davis-Bacon Act, which raises the cost. It requires you to use a large unionized firm. That's why they do it. And it raises the cost of any road that's built or repaired by, I don't know, 10, 15, 25% at times. So you really, this is something that will raise the cost of having roads taken care of. And by centralizing it in Washington, D.C., in the past, instead of building roads, they built bike paths. Instead of fixing bridges, they've decided to build interesting-looking gardens next to the highways. Don't send the money to Washington. Leave it in the state. If you want to have a car tax, do it at the state level. However, the reason they don't is that in Virginia, Democrats lost a governorship years ago because they wanted to protect the car tax and the Republicans wanted to get rid of it. And just last week, the good people of Oregon, Deep Blue Oregon, voted 83-17 to get rid of a car tax that had been put in by the government.
So in your words, this is political death and people don't want it.
This is political suicide. The tax would start 1 month before the November elections this fall. This is not a bright idea.
Now, one of the big concerns here is you've raised is that this could turn state DMVs into some sort of federal tax collectors in some ways. Yeah. Elaborate on that.
Well, it's not just my concern. The governor of Florida, DeSantis, has now written and talked about it quite a bit. He thinks it's thoroughly unconstitutional. It's certainly very dangerous. That you want to put federal officers in the state DMVs and collect it, and if the state doesn't help, the feds threaten them with taking away the federal gas tax that they have. It really would be the federal government coming in at the state level, tremendously increasing national control of a state function.
So do you think this is going to go anywhere?
Well, it's passed the passed the committee in House of Representatives. But a lot of people weren't aware of it. I've talked to Republican leaders who go, they were not aware that this is what was going on. They had not agreed to this. I believe it's entirely possible to stop this both at the House level, in the entire House of Representatives. No Republican wants to run as the tax increaser. And also in the Senate, which would have similar challenges with this. This is not something to do now or ever. In fact, we should move in the other direction and allow states to end much of the taxation of gasoline by the national level. Let states do it, and they can decide to spend that much or less.
Well, thank you so much, President of Americans for Tax Reform,